Informative classics. What is going on, guys? We are here today, guys, to talk about the murder of Constable Samuel Locke, who was ambushed, shot, and killed in front of his home on March 8th, 1925. Constable Locke was shot and killed after he did a raid on who was called the bootlegging king out of Franklin, a guy by the name of John Truett, excuse me, I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. On the night of March 8th, 1925, two black men were coerced to ambush, shoot, and then kill Samuel Locke outside of his home. They were talked to by the Truetts, I keep saying Truetts, excuse me guys, the Truetts, to do this, and they were not going to be paid, and they also were threatened, their lives were threatened in order to commit this murder as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about this later on in this video. We're going to look at what took place and what was said. That's why I wanted to go straight to this newspaper. Informative classics. I'm going to say it again. Guys, if you like stories like this, stories of the past and stories of things that have happened to people back in the day, and you want me to find more newspapers like this and talk about more stories like this that happened back in the day to inform you, let me know in the comments. If you're new to this channel and just catching wind of videos like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be glad to have you along to find out more informative classical stories like this one we're doing today. So let's find out what happened on the night of March 8th. We're going to go slide a little bit down through this newspaper, and we're going to go right there where you say ambusher kills constable noted for many raids. Sam Locke found shot to death 7 miles from Franklin, Tennessee. Now, guys, I actually visited the location. So later on in this video, I'm going to show you the location where this happened at. And I'm going to actually read a marker that was outside as well. So I'm going to show you exactly where he was when he was shot and killed. So we're going to start off with this. On March 8th, Samuel Locke, about 50, constable in the 7th district, this county, was shot and instantly killed from ambush, supposedly by bootleggers on whiskey manufacturers. At 11 p.m. Saturday, when he alighted from his automobile, boy, they used some words back then, to open the gate to his farm 7 miles north of here on the Hillsborough Pike. Sheriff W.W. Crockett said Sunday that he had absolutely no clue to work on, but that he feels sure that the liquidator was killed by bootleggers, of whom Mr. Locke had been waging a continuous war for the last 3 years. He has been contacted with the county officials. He had destroyed 9 stills the week he was shot. And it says the constable was not alone. The constable was alone. No one was with the constable at the time of the shooting. It is supposed that the killer or killers, waited behind a stone fence until the man had stopped his machine. His machine would be his car. They knew. I don't know why they said machine. I'm guessing that's what they looked to me. 1920s vehicles, guys. Look at this. This is a 1920 vehicle, 20s vehicle. So you can just see why that would be called the machine. But his machine elated and was opening the gate. One load of bird shot from his shotgun entered his neck, almost severing his head from the body. Jesus Christ. and one entered his side. God damn. When H.W. Cotton, local undertaker, happened to pass the scene of the shooting, about 10 minutes later, he said he found the body lying near the gate, bleeding profusely from both wounds. He immediately called the sheriff, and an inquest was held by Esquire Ed Moran. A verdict of death from causes of persons unknown to the jury was rendered. Mr. Locke had stopped his machine in the middle of the pike, leaving the engine running and the lights burning to open the gate. Mr. Cotton's attention was attracted by the empty machine in the road with the motor running and lights burning. Boy, he got buried the next day. Following the inquest, which was held about midnight, the man's body was removed to the undertaking establishment of Reagan and Cotton and prepared for burial. It was brought back home Sunday afternoon, and funeral services will be held Monday. It says Monday. Where's the rest of the story at? This story continues. But I believe I cleared that up by just saying Monday. The funeral processions would be Monday. So guys, I got a little bit more that I want to check out for you. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually talk to you about what the killers, who the killers are, and what the killers said. Coming up next. And then we're going to see what initially happened to the Truetts and what happened to the black men that were involved in this killing. So let's hold on, and we're going to come full quasi, if you want to say. And then we're going to wrap this story up because this is bananas. So here we go with what happened after. So this I'm about to show you and talk to you about now. This came out, this story is from March 9th. This next story I'm about to talk to you about what happened is April 13th. I'd been in the Truett store part of that afternoon, meaning the afternoon preceding the tragedy that brought to the surface the crime infesting stayed in proud old Williamson County. Didn't promise him pay. So Mr. Neely, who sent him to kill Sam Locke, he didn't promise me nothing. They ain't even give me a match since that shooting. He said, write a note of bitterness. He added that John Truett Sr. had not made him any offers whatsoever either in compensation for his crime. Mr. Neely just fed me liquor. How much did you drink? He was asked. I guess about a pint and all, he said, and declared that after he had drank the whiskey, Neely Truett showed him the gun in the back of the store. He told you to kill Locke? Yes, sir. Did you have a party with Mr. Truett or anyone when you got back after killing Locke? He was asked. No, sir. I don't know nothing about that party, he answered in reply to the question, asking him what he did after returning. He said he went to, now we're going to go over to page 8. Truetts threatened if they refused to slay Locke, 2 Negroes say. John Kelton and Frank Kane confessed, giving virtually the same details of the crime. It says Jim Kelton Negro assassinated Constable Sam Locke and Frank Kane Negro chauffeur assisted because they feared their own deaths at the hands of John Truett Sr. and Neely Truett if they refused to carry out the crime, according to the 2 Negroes' confessions. To government officers, both have steadfastly denied that they received any money or any other sort of reward for killing So we have to think about this. These two black men were basically given a bunch of liquor to kill Sam Locke and nothing else. They didn't give them nothing else. They didn't offer no money or anything else. They just told them, hey, go here, get this drink, get them drunk, and he even went on, Kelton. This happened on March 8th, by the way, guys, 1925. I'm going to add some photos to this too. The picture of Sam Locke, his wife, a picture of the house. And then I actually went to the location where this happened at. And that video you're going to see at the end of this. So on March 8th, 1925, these two gentlemen shot and killed Sam Locke outside of his home. Right here is a picture of the house, how it looked. The picture is really distorted. So you got to remember, this is a newspaper from 1925, which was 98 years ago. So the black man, Nick Williams, they said he was a shooter for John and Neely Truett. John Truett was called the bootlegging king. He was the bootlegging king in Franklin, Tennessee. There's actually a house of his in Franklin, Tennessee that still stands to this day. I'm showing you that house right now. So he was ran down on for bootlegging, and the raid happened, and the constable who was in charge of the raid was Sam Locke. Now, they had planned on killing Locke on the afternoon of March 8th, but he was in the company of other officers, so they didn't kill him on the afternoon of March 8th. I mean, on the afternoon in which the raid took place. Excuse me. So they waited until March 8th to actually kill him. And then there's the newspaper article, as I'm showing you now, as you see, it says that they had a party that they celebrated after they killed him. That's why they asked these two men if they had a party. And they said, no, we don't know nothing about no party. They don't know anything about that. Initially, these two black men are being held for the crime. And the men that hired them was two white men, basically, who wanted to commit the crime, had them committed. Because you got to think, if you get two black men to commit this crime back in 1925, they're not going to question anything. They're just going to deal with these two men, and everything will be over with. But initially, this case ended up gaining more heat than the Truetts thought it would, and we're gonna look a little bit deeply into that, because they wound up, catching more heat from this than they thought they would, just by having two black men do this. So Kelton claimed that he killed them for Neely Truett. Of course, he gave him some liquor and showed him a shotgun in the back of the store and sent them to kill Sam Locke. Kelton started off by saying he wouldn't have done it if he hadn't been full of that old liquor. You know how ignorant ninjas is when he gets that stuff in him. Let's look a little bit closer into this, guys, because this is crazy. Informative classics, guys. Hopefully you enjoy. If you enjoy videos like this and want to see more videos like this, these historical stories, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I find this to be kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys find it to be as interesting as I do, but I find things like this to be crazy. So it says Frank Kane, which is another black man, when questioned, officials confessed that Frank Kane, when questioned by federal officials, confessed that the crime when simultaneously the same details as were contained in the confession of the assassin. According to the investigators, with the expectations that Kane quoted a direct threat against his life from the Truetts should be failed to carry out his part of the plot. Basically, if he don't do it, they're gonna kill him. According to the confessions, Kelton became attached to the Truett. What is that? Manage Excuse me, guys. Look, Menage. Excuse me. I don't know what that word is. Excuse me, as it seems like my reading just sucked for a minute, but that word looks like something that was around back then. After John Truett Sr. had rescued him from the Murray County Court in which he had been indicted for operating a still, he worked on a Truett farm helping in operation of a still and performed other tasks for his masters. The relation began about 2 years ago and continued up until after the assassination. Kane was connected with the Truetts in substantially in similar captivity. The Negroes claimed that John and Neely Truett planned every detail in the assassination of Locke, that they informed them of every move that each was to make, that Neely Truett gave the signal for them to leave the public square in pursuit of Constable Locke on the night of the murder, that he had gave Kelton a half pint of liquor to keep up his spirits at partying, and that the Truetts celebrated the murder with a motley crew of whites and Negroes after receiving Kelton's report that the assassination had been successfully executed. Kelton's statements as to who gave him the double-barreled shotgun with which he shot the officer down are said to have been conflicted. He finally said that Neely Truett did it. So, as you see, this goes on. The successful assassination followed a prior attempt at the same end, which was prevented by Kelton's own. What's that? I don't know what that says. I don't know what that says right there, guys. If you know what that says, somebody could translate that. Timiyoity. According to the Negro's confession, Kelton was to have slain Locke during a raid on his still, but when the officer appeared, according to the Negro, he was accompanied by so many other officers. See, that was the night, at the afternoon I just told you guys about. They were going to do it that night, but he didn't. That the assassin's heart filled him. He turned and left the scene. On the night of the murder, Locke attended a moving picture show in Franklin and was kept under surveillance by alleged Truett followers for almost 3 hours until he finally got in his automobile and started home. According to the confession, at a signal from Neely Truett, the Negroes got in another car and followed, passing the lock machine and reaching the gate several minutes before the officer arrived. In the interim, Kane hid the machine and Kelton took up his. Okay, so where's this start off at? Destination posted behind the left stone wall. From this place, he fired. When the officer elated to open the gate, two charges taking effect in the body and producing instant death. When the officer alligated to open the gate, 2 charges taking effect in the body and producing instant death. Fearing that the officer might still be alive and opened fire on him, Kelton said he leaped to the fallen man's side and ascertained that he was dead. Missing the celebration. The Negro that rejoined his companion in the waiting machine. They drove towards Nashville and the Hillsborough Pike crossing by Davidson County lanes to the Murfreesboro Pike and returned to Franklin. They did not attend the celebration, Kelton said, but reported the murder to Neely Truett shortly before midnight, according to the statement of Matt Lugosi, Negro woman. To federal officials, she met Clarence Reed, constable, on the street, and Reed told her that Locke had been killed. She met two Negro men who had the same information, and the trio went to the celebration. Constable Locke, by his prohibition activities, was alleged to have cost John Truett Sr. $14,000, guys. $14,000 in 1925 was a lot of money. I'm not gonna guesstimate, but that's a lot of money in 1925. And fines for underlines and pawns since he assumed office, according to gossip on the streets of Franklin. The Truetts remained informally silent, denying all charges in the Negro's confessions. So, let's take a look. October 21st, of 1925. The trial for this murder started in October. And as you see, the headline is Negroes Hate Was Murder Motive, Truett defense says. So the Neely and John Truett, Neely Truett, I just found out in this article, is John's brother. So apparently they're saying in this article that they did not give Kelton, the guy's name, what is this guy's first? Jim Kelton, the liquor. So we're just going to read a little bit of it, guys. It's a long article, and it continues on page 5 of this new newspaper. This is a long article. We're just going to read a little bit of it. So, as you see, Negroes hate. Excuse me, I almost used the complete N-word. I don't want YouTube to take me out of here, but trial testimony ends. Counsel to argue case today. So, closing hours of testimony in the Truett trial this afternoon brought forth an attempt by the defense to prove that motive which prompted Jim Kelton, Negro, to assassinate Constable Sam Locke was his own hatred for the officer, and that he could not have obtained the shotgun with which the murder was committed from the home of John H. Truett Sr. Two threats against Locke prior to the murder and a statement extradited the Truetts to putting him up to the assassination given in the Davidson County Jail after the killings were laid to the Negro by defense witnesses. Joe Lofton and Will Carson, Franklin told of the prior threats, had admitted that they thought so little of them that they notified nobody at the time they were made. Kelton appeared to be joking on one of the two occasions, Lofton said, and was talking lightly on the other, according to Carson. The third statement, testified to by Joe Dixon, Chief Deputy, and Sheriff Bobby Braley of Davidson County, were made while the Negro was playing cards in his cell in the county jail here. Kelton told, under these circumstances, Mr. Dixon said that nobody put him up to the killing, and that the reason he did it was because he and Locke were mad at each other. So as you see, they denied, the story. John H. Truett Sr., defendant, was testifying this morning that he and his wife both said that if there was a gun in their house the night of the killing, they did not know of it. And Miss Truett denied that Kelton came to the house that night and asked for the gun for Neely. Evidence in the trial of John Truett Sr. and his son Neely, Neely is his son, Neely Truett, and alleged accessories before the fact to the Locke murder was completed at 5 p.m. So, it goes on. It shows witnesses. So this goes on. This story continues all the way up until page 5. we're gonna go over to page 5 real quick. As you see, guys, I'm getting this stuff from ProQuest, the Tennessee Electronic Library. If there is no copyright issues because I am using this for educational purposes and helping you guys out. I do want to throw the disclaimer out there that this is for educational purposes and letting you guys know what happened back in 1925 here in the state of Tennessee. So this is not being used for no other purpose but to educate and enlighten you about things that took place here back in the day. So I just want to throw that out there. But this story is very long here. I also letting you guys know where I got it from. You have to be a Tennessee resident in order to even acquire this information. So if you guys want to look this up on your own, you have to actually be a Tennessee resident. So I'm actually letting you guys know this. So you see, this story continues. I mean, there's a lot here to read. So initially, I mean, guys, this is just a lot of, what happened. John Truett testifies. The testimony of John Truett Sr. this morning was featured by a denial that he ever owned a shotgun and a declaration that, to the best of his knowledge and belief, there was no shotgun in his house the night of the killing. Kelton had sworn he obtained the shotgun from the house of Neely's instructions. The Truetts both finished their testimony this morning. The elder Truett denied that he ever tried to get Greenlee Rainey and Elvis Martin moonshiners to give 2 affidavits apiece, both full of lies, in order to clear Truett of any connection with the Williamson County liquor ring. He also denied that an automobile was in his backyard the night of the killing. Kelton and Kane had sworn the machine was left there when they returned from the murder trip. John Gardner, attorney, led the witnesses through a grilling cross-examination, which was frequently interrupted by defense counsel's objections. Queries as to the activity of the allegations Williamson County liquor ring caused much excitement amongst counsel and judge. Hobbs was frequently asked to instruct the defense that he might elect to answer or remain silent when the answer to any question put him, he might tend to incriminate him in the pending liquor conspiracy case in federal court. After drawing from Truett an admission that he had helped for the past year, the gambling was being, so this goes on, carried out by his son in a liquor store. So this just goes on continuing to talk about, now they're retracting their statements and taking things back and saying that things didn't go the way that the 2 black men said that they went. So we're going to fast forward, guys, to, again, like I said in the beginning, what actually happened to all of these people. Did the Truetts get off? Did the two black men go to jail? Did they get hung? What happened back then? So we're coming to the close of this, so just hold on. I'm about to skip right to what happened after the testimonies, after the confessions, after the refute. Officially find out what happened in this case. So you see, this is the headline from October 24th, 1925. They had been deliberating since October 20th till October 25th. This paper came out the day after. Says October 23rd, John Truett Sr. and his son Neely Truett on trial as accessories before the fact to the assassination of Constable Sam Locke were acquitted by the trial jury at 7:10 o'clock tonight under the yellow lights of the courtroom, where for the past 2 weeks they have heard themselves viciously malfunctioned and praised. The Truett's father and son received the verdict clearing them of any complicity in a crime that has often called the foulest in the history of Williamson County. No change of expression was noted on their faces as J.L. Gee, spokesman for the jury, pronounced the verdict. Silence followed the words, "We find these defendants not guilty," and as charged in the indictment, and immediately thereafter friends of the two men who have stood by them throughout the trial rushed through the courtroom. I don't know what that says, to extend their congratulations. Tension and anxiety probably was responsible for the absence from the courtroom of Mr. John Truett, wife of the elder defendant, who has attended each, I guess that's privileged session of the court. It's old newspaper, guys, 98 years old, but as we see here, Truett's freed, Negro gets life, and Locke killing. This goes on to talk about the acquittal. It continues on page 2. So let's go over to page 2 and see what's being said. I'm going to read that to you guys. So, Truett's freed, Negroes get life. So it says here, for conviction of another party, the 4 o'clock appearance of the jury was its first since and received the charge from Judge Hobbs at same hour yesterday. Jim Kelton, convicted Negro assassin who was found guilty of murder in the first degree with, I think that's mitigating circumstances during a recess in the Truett trial, was brought into court the morning and sentenced by Judge Hobbs to life imprisonment. His accomplice, Kane, not indicted, Frank Red Kane, confessed driver of the murder car, has not yet been indicted in connection with the murder. Kane claimed he was forced to accompany Kelton when the assassin threatened his life. He refused and subsequently kept the crime concealed because he feared death if he should reveal it. Prior to the verdict today, it had not been planned to have him indicted, according to the U.S. Attorney General A.V. McLean. The Truetts went on trial under the accessory indictment 5 weeks ago after federal officers had worked up the evidence that was introduced against them. Federal officials also obtained an indictment from the federal jury, charging them with about 13 other persons with conspiring to violate the prohibition law. According to the state theory, the Truetts were bosses of the alleged Williamson County liquor conspiracy ring. More than 2,000 vermin were called and examined during the 3 full weeks of court sessions in order for the trial to complete. Following completion of the jury, Kelton was tried and convicted in 3 hours with imposition of sentence deferred in order that he might be used as a witness against the Truetts. Man, And this goes on, this is a really long article, guys. As I'm looking at more of it. So initially, the two men that were charged, one sentenced to life and the other that hadn't been charged, up until this time, October 24th, 1925, this is the last time that I've heard anything about this story. Let me look up this guy's name, John Kelton. I want to find out what happened to him later on. Jim, is it Jim? Yeah, Jim Kelton, excuse me. Let's find out what happened to Mr. Kelton. That talk about him any longer other than that. But in I want to let you guys know how history and how stories change throughout history. And when you hear a story 98 years later, that story's not going to sound the same as it did 98 years ago. That's why channels like this, where I do the research and I collect the information for you guys, and I try to bring you what happened, what actually happened. And I want to read this article to you guys that appeared in the newspaper on May 18th, 1983. May 18th, 1983, the headline says, "Slain lawmen to be honored." Now, that's talking about, the slain lawman that they're talking about is Sam Locke, who was killed, as we know, on March 8th, 1925, because that's what I told you guys in the beginning of this video, because I read it in the article in the Tennessean from May 9th, 1925. He was killed on May 8th. Now, this article here, this article starts off, and you remember we said that in that one article that he was 50 years old. This one says Sam Locke, 52, a prohibition officer from Franklin's police department, was shot and killed by a shotgun blast from an ambush at the front gate of his Hillsborough Road home, March 7th, 1995. Excuse me, 1925. It was not March 7th, it was March 8th. So what happens is, this is 1983, so you got 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, almost 60 years later, the story has completely changed to his death date. So, charged and prosecuted in his murder was confessed triggerman Jim Kelton. Now, Jim Kelton, as you know, he didn't confess to it. We just said that. He didn't confess to it. He said he was given liquor. And after being given the liquor, he went and did it. Now, of course, he said he confessed it. Okay, he did confess to killing him. But he basically was saying he was inebriated and they drugged him and made him do it. That's basically what he was saying. So this article goes on to say, who was assisted by Frank Kane. Kelton said he was under contract for the officer's death by Neely Truett and John Truett Sr., whom Locke had arrested for moonshining. Locke assisted federal agents in destroying 73 stills in the Franklin area. County Constable A.M. Matt Sullivan was killed by shotgun blast to the chest October 29th, 1933. Well, that's something totally different. This goes on to talk more about what happened. Apparently some more things went down when I'm looking at this article, but it's funny how stories change. That's what I'm just saying, guys. Over the years, it's just funny how stories change, dates change, situations change, and you hear these things changing over and over and over again, and you never really know what happened unless you dig deep and find out the truth. So, and as we know, John and his son Neely, wanted this guy dead because he had just cost them thousands of dollars back then, which could have been close to millions of dollars. And they're not going to do it themselves. Again, you're going to hire two Negroes to do it, because back in the 1920s, it was easy. You see, they said it took 7 days to convict Jim Kelton of murder. We don't even know if he received a fair trial, because that's not going to appear in the newspaper from the 1920s. But we do know that somebody was killed. Somebody was not paid for the killing, so it didn't make it a hired killing. But he was drugged, according to him. He was inebriated at the time, said he wouldn't have done it if he wasn't drunk. But we see years later, stories change and people's ideals of things change. I'm not going to go any further into this story, guys. I believe I drug it out enough. I just wanted to share this with you guys. It's funny how things change over the years. I would love to hear what people are saying about this story now, 98 years later. This being 2023. Man, but let me let you, let me know what you think in the comments about this. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Hopefully somewhere in this video I have been informative. This is Informative Classics is the name of the channel. So hopefully somewhere during this video I have been informative and informed you with enough information on this classical case of the murder of Sam Locke. Guys, that's all I got. If you want to find out more about this case, I implore you to Google Sam Locke, John Truett, Neely Truett, and just try to find out the information you can find out. I send my condolences to the Locke family. Just a sad occasion, guys. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video on that note. Informative Classics, and we are back with a little bit of Nashville area history straight out of Williamson County. Oh man, I was just riding and I ran into this sign. Now I told you guys I'll let you know when I run into certain stories that come out of this area, and I've seen this sign, and I see these signs all over. And I'm just going to read the sign, because a lot of times when I try to show the sign, you guys can't see it. And I'm going to show you the location, which is straight ahead. if what happened in this location. And we're going to take a look at the picture on the other side. So Samuel Claybrook Locke, at this location on the night of March 7th, 1925, Federal Revenue Officer Samuel Locke was murdered while opening the front gate. 3 months before his death, Locke had resigned as deputy under Sheriff W.W. Crockett for a lack of support in his efforts to uphold the law. Now, guys, I'm going to put pictures of Samuel Claybrook Locke, if I can find them, and Sheriff Crockett, if I can find pictures of him too. His enthusiasm in destroying moonshine still across the county angered John Truett, Franklin's illegal liquor seizure, which hired Jim Kelton and Frank Kane to eliminate the troublesome Locke. In a 2-week span after his death, the Flying Squadron, a group of federal prohibition field agents, investigated Locke's death, leading to the more than 30 arrests, including Clinton and Kane, who were found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. John Truett and his 2 sons were acquitted of any involvement in the murder of Locke, but were arrested and fined for liquor and trafficking. At this, I don't know if that happened up there at that gate right there, or where I'm standing at right now. I'm gonna step to the other side and take a look at the picture. Yeah, so that's Samuel Locke, 1877-1925, was the son of Barry and Sarah Harbison Locke of Hillsborough. In 1896, he married Patrice Hendricks, and from this union came Elsie, Rosa, Sally, Albert, Tommy, and Sam Jr. So this, I don't know which one of these guys is Samuel Locke. I'm guessing is this elderly gentleman right here. Shoot, that is crazy. Oh, I took this whole... guys, I'm gonna... The whole time I've been facing the camera this way. I usually don't face the camera the long way. I'll flip it.